Hey, it's Hunt. You found Hunt on Saints. We're talking black and gold football. Do us a favor. Hit the like button, share your comments below, and hit that subscription button so you can get all of our content. Enjoy. Frank Schwab of Yahoo is doing power rankings of the NFL franchises as of right now, and he's doing one a day. And I continue to click on it day by day to kind of see when the black and gold show up. Today they did, and unfortunately it's pretty early. That's number 24 in his power rankings entering this season. His lead in the story, and you can read the whole thing over at Yahoo, says, "You might have forgotten the New Orleans Saints finished last season with a winning record. They were 9-8. And then he said, it would have been more fitting if they had found a way to finish 8-1, because since the end of the Sean Payton, Drew Brees era, the Saints have settled into boring mediocrity with no end in sight." That's the opening two lines of his story. And he backs it up with a lot of numbers here. The Saints are 25-26 in the past 3 years. They've got a quarterback who's 33 years old and has a $150 million contract. The top two highest paid players for most of this offseason in terms of their cap hits were Alvin Kamara and Taysom Hill. That was before Taysom Hill restructured. And as he writes, Kamara's best days seem to be behind him, and he plays a devalued position. And Hill will be 34 years old and is the pet product of an old coach who hasn't been on the sideline since 2021. This is some blunt stuff that Schwab is putting out there. He continues to go into their salary cap situation. The Saints are an astonishing $100.5 million over the projected cap in 2025, and that's without much hope of being a Super Bowl contender at all. And I don't disagree with either of those things. One is objective and one is subjective, and I can't argue with much of that. There's a metric that he cites called defensive value over average, DVOA. I don't know how it's calculated, and I don't really care, but they do have an objective metric to it, and this is what it says the Saints are from last year. 15th in the league, 17th on offense, 15th on defense, 14th on special teams. That's the definition of just absolute average. They're just average all the way across the board. He continues, they won one game against a 2023 playoff game. It was late in the season against the Tampa Bay Bucks, who also finished 9-8. And they did not lose to any team that had 10 or more losses. So it's not like they stink. No one's suggesting the Saints are awful. But you would be fooling yourself if you suggested they were really good. And then you have to discern, like, okay, well, if they're not awful and they're not really good, like, can they get really good? And you look at this and you go, well, I don't know how they would do that, because of the financial situation and the age of their players. Now, they start talking about quarterbacks, and they say Carr wasn't awful last season. In true Saints fashion, he finished 19th out of 38 qualified quarterbacks, which is, again,
right there in the middle.
Right in the middle of it's everything they do on Pro Football Focus. And then he grades their offseason, and he said free agency was light because the Saints had to scramble to get under the cap. They were more than $80 million over, and so they had to restructure deals. They signed Chase Young to a one-year deal. They signed Willie Gay to a one-year deal. Then they went to the draft, and he says it was, quote, fine with taking Taliesin Fuanga and Kool-Aid McKinstry in the first two drafts. He says the Fuanga pick was necessary because the Saints might have whiffed on Trevor Penning, and stalwart Ryan Ramchik's future is murky. So they probably needed a great offseason, but it's hard to see how they did enough with the additions to make a big difference, and he grades it as a D+. What you got?
I think he was pretty accurate, man. I mean, not one thing you said I disagree with. Everything you said, everything he broke down was so spot on. I mean, you're expecting a Derek Carr and a Dennis Allen team to be above average?
They're just right on the baseline.
Right
he
on the
continues,
baseline.
And this is not him talking, this is BetMGM with their breakdown. So the Saints don't have a single player who appears in the top 25 in the odds for most valuable player of the league, offensive player of the year, defensive player of the year, or offensive rookie of the year.
Okay, that's mean.
And now rookie of the year, they're not. Taliesin Fuanga is not going to be rookie of the year on offense. He's a tackle, so you're not going to get that. But the other ones, like, you don't. Who are the stars? Demario Davis is great. He's 35.
The stars in the Saints roster right now.
Chris
have
Olave.
to be like Chris Olave, and I want to call Tyrann Mathieu a star. I'm like, most cachet.
He's 33.
Yeah, I'm about to say, like, there's no, young guy other than Olave. Shaheed has star potential breakout, maybe, per se. But no.
I mean, he says arguably the Saints' most important defenders on each level are Cam Jordan, Demario Davis, and Tyrann Mathieu. They will be 35, 35, and 32 this season.
Goodness.
And he says Marshawn Lattimore is still a good corner in the prime age of 28, but there are a lot of questions about his future. And so every time you can say something positive, you turn around and have to add the caveat, but. And that's what keeps you right there in the middle, and that's exactly where the Saints are. So the point of this segment here, and Jordan, I want your help with this,
yes.
And I'll toss it into you. Like when you weigh the current state of the roster, and I'm talking about every team in the NFL, including the Saints, and that's where we start.
Okay.
You weigh the current roster, and then you just weigh the hope factor. If somebody's young or something's new and something's different, like what situation in the league would you definitely say is worse than the Saints? Because, like, yeah, there are some teams last year that stunk, like the Bears. But they have a brand new quarterback, and they had cap room, and they've got some guys in that are stars. Like, so, yeah, I think the Saints might be better than the Bears, but, like, there's more hope there, so it feels better. I don't have to talk about teams like the Eagles or the Chiefs or like that just have the roster, the 49ers that's, like, ready to go.
Yeah.
And so I brought it, like, would you feel better as a Saints fan or a Panthers fan right now?
Oh, my goodness.
I would feel better as a Saints fan.
I'd probably say the Saints. I wouldn't even go on that. I was going to be like the Giants.
Well, I'm starting at the bottom.
Okay, yeah,
I'm starting
yeah.
I think the Panthers are a dysfunctional mess, and Bryce Young looks – so
owner alone, yes.
Right. The Saints feel better than the Panthers. Cardinals is next.
I feel better about the Cardinals.
You do?
Well, with Kyler and Marvin, that could be something.
Okay.
That could be something. I don't know much about their defense or whatnot, but I like that little piece.
It's a tough division.
Yeah, division is hard.
You've got, obviously, San Francisco's really good, and whatever Seattle is, I'm not exactly sure what Seattle is. But so the Giants, you feel better about the Saints situation than the Giants?
Saints.
Daniel Jones still there. Like it's like they got Drew Lock as their backup. Like
Darren Waller retiring.
Yeah, Saquon's gone. Like that's a tough spot. The Raiders.
Ooh, they don't have a quarterback. I probably maybe the Saints.
I feel probably better about the Saints, but at that point it starts to get difficult. Yeah. There are a lot of rosters I could point to. Washington's one of them, like that are worse than the Saints.
I feel better about them though. Jaden Daniels,
because they have the hope factor there. Like, where's the hope factor coming from for Saints? It's like Klint Kubiak. That's your hope.
That's our hope. Yes, and Fuaga, we're a rookie tackle. That's our hope.
I mean, that's the point of this thing. Like, would you rather be competitive with a bad division and a chance to sneak in the playoffs if Baker Mayfield tears his ACL in October and you win the division at 9-8? Or would you rather, we went 3-14 last year, but we got a new quarterback and a new coach? Like that, the hope factor is so low on this, and it's very subjective. There may be plenty of Saints fans that sit out there and go, no, we got Kubiak, and look, we still got Olave and Shaheed, and we're going to revamp this offensive line, and Carr's going to stay healthy, and our defense, we got Dennis Allen, like he's a good defensive coach, and the defense was okay last year, and like maybe there are some people that feel that way. I just sitting back and looking at him like I don't think so.
And I think that's the problem, that we have Saints fans like that. The blind optimism and fanhood literally blows my mind. There's no way that y'all can we got Derek Carr and then dude, we've had 3 to 4 years of this, man. Well, what is going to get better? Do y'all really expect Dennis Allen, a career losing head coach, to just magically flip the switch and become Chuck Noll or something? Come on, man. I'm not doing that.
What about New England? New coach, Drake May is their backup to Jacoby Brissett. Who's in a better spot?
All right. Man, I would have to say the Saints, but they have a lot more hope. And that's a winning franchise.
And well, they have so much stocked in there. Like even the 9-year-old Patriots fan has some positive memories from a few years ago.
The Celtics just won. I ain't worried about them. Y'all win all the time.
So it's 24 is low to me, and that's where he's got them in these power rankings. I think it's probably closer to 20, but I can't get you any inside the top 15 at this point. I think the Saints. This is the way I'll put it in June. Maybe I change my tune when we start talking about a few things in August, but I think the Saints have a pretty good chance to win when they show up on that particular Sunday. But then over the course of 17 Sundays, I think the law of averages starts to pick away at you, and that you don't have I mean, Derek Carr is very capable of going out there and playing a great game. Like, I don't know if Bryce Young's even capable of going out there and playing a great game.
Everything's bad over in Panthers.
It's real bad. Yeah, it's just, I think the trajectory of this organization and the feeling in Saints fans would be different if they weren't in the NFC South. If you put this team in the AFC North, with the Steelers and the Browns and the Bengals and the Ravens, and then you got to play those teams 6 times in a year as opposed to Atlanta and Carolina, and then all of a sudden you look up and be like, oh, this isn't really close to the top of the league. But because last year's schedule was so light, it just all of a sudden kind of fell in your lap and you were able to get to 9 wins. I feel bad, like, being pessimistic in June about the Saints. No.
But
I'm reading the stats he's giving me right here.
You're being real.
It is what it is. It's not super.
Before we go, you know what slipped my mind?
What's
we do
that?
have a little hope. Spencer Rattler. That is our hope. I don't know how that slipped through the cracks.
I'm not going to slam the door on that. I hope it's awesome. It's a long shot, but I hope it's fantastic. Hey, it's on. Thanks for watching Hunt on Saints. Before you leave, help us out a little bit. Hit that like button, leave your comments in the section below, and hit that subscribe button so you get all our content right here from Hunt on Saints. We'll see you next time.